So thank you so much for the introduction. As you mentioned, I am the project manager of the South African Quantum Technology Initiative, and today I will be providing you with an overview of SA QuTI and what we do and how you can get involved if you would like to become involved in quantum science and technology. So just to take us back a little bit, we are actually in the International Year of Quantum Science and Technology, and this was in 2025 because it's been about 100 years since quantum science and technology was developed. So if we look over here at the first quantum revolution, you can see that most of the technologies were focused on lasers, diodes, and transistors. So we've now moved into the second quantum revolution, and the second generation technologies are focused on three themes, mainly quantum communication, quantum sensing and metrology, and quantum computing. And we can see that there are various applications of these quantum principles ranging from IT security, medical diagnosis and technology, and AI and machine learning. So if we look at a worldwide view, so we're just going to start broad before we go into the South African context. If we look at the worldwide view, there has been quite a large investment in quantum technologies, and governments are investing in quantum research and technologies. The most recent figures suggest that there's a global effort of about $57 billion US. As you can see, the South African government is also investing in quantum science and technologies through the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, and they are doing this by supporting the South African Quantum Technology Initiative. So if we zoom now into the South African context specifically and what we are doing in the quantum space, we have this initiative, SA QuTI, which was officially established in 2022. It is a national initiative. So as mentioned, even though we are hosted at WITS, we are a national initiative with various nodes, which I'll go into. And it aims to establish quantum centers, build skills and critical mass, and most importantly, translating the quantum science into quantum technologies. So if you're interested in learning more about South Africa's roadmap, you can read our framework document, which can be found on our website, and you can also read our roadmap. It needs to actually be updated. It's a little bit outdated now, but it's still relevant towards a quantum future for South Africa. If we take a broad look at SA QuTI, you can see that we have various activities that take place throughout the country. We currently have 5 nodes represented here by these orange dots, and we also have various flagship projects, which I'll speak more to, and training and advocacy events that occur across the country. You can see over here our 5 nodes at the University of Witwatersrand, University of KwaZulu-Natal, University of Zululand, University of Stellenbosch, and the Cape Peninsula University of Technology. These nodes were established in 2022 because they had active quantum research with expertise at all of these centers. And the nodes have various ongoing projects and aim to build critical mass. You can see some of the nodes over here have established specific quantum centers and different initiatives. At WITS, we have WITS-Q. UKZN is actually launching the Centre for Quantum Computing and Technology next Friday, and Stellenbosch has QSUN. So we have established these strong nodes over the last 3 years, and in the next 5 years, our aim is to grow activities in South Africa. So we're going to try and support new participants in quantum technologies to build diversity not only in demographics, but also in geographics. So an overview of what we've managed to achieve over the last 3 years, you can see that we've established quite a large network. We have many students working on quantum science and technologies with about 90 students per year. We also have large industry engagements and industry partners, and we are working on quite a few different technology demonstrators and prototypes. How have we managed to make all of this happen? Well, we've achieved these goals as we've created a collaborative community in South Africa by focusing on common goals and specific themes. We have created a community where our nodes and our flagships are able to work together and they're able to share these expertise and test prototypes to assist in the commercialization. So if we now look more at what are these three themes that I've been talking about, it can sound quite scary if you haven't heard of them before. So what we can do is we can look at them through the lens of data. We all know about data, so it's easy to break down these concepts into that lens so that everyone can understand them. So these themes enable us to translate science into technology. So if we look at the first one, quantum metrology, sensing and imaging, this is data collection by precise measurements. So we're trying to get very precise measurements that aren't possible classically. Then we have quantum communication. This is the safe data transport, so making everything ultra secure. And then we have quantum computing, which is making data processing ultra fast. So you can see over here, quantum doesn't only just have to be in the physics space, but it can be viewed through different lenses. And that is also what we're trying to do at SA QuTI, is move it just out of the physics domain and into other faculties such as engineering, computer science, health sciences, because we will need all of those faculties and departments to reach the goals and deliverables. So if we take a deeper look into some of these themes, the first flagship that we have aims to build a leading quantum industry, supplying devices and standards to local and international markets. So you can see that the sensing research is being done at quite a few institutions, Stellenbosch, WITS, UKZN, UP, and UCT. I'm not going to go into too much detail on the specific technologies, as we do have many SA QuTI researchers who will present over the next 2 days, but I will just give you a high-level overview of what we are doing in this flagship. So we are working a lot on biosensors. So we are working on a quantum-enhanced biosensor for drug development. We're working on machine learning and AI in the imaging space and working on the integration of these two things. Working on verification specifically of quantum devices and quantum computers, and lastly, developing single photon sources for different applications. So to highlight some of the work that's being done, we are doing a lot of interesting work in this field. So you can see over here that SA QuTI researchers are working on developing quantum sensors for nationally relevant biological applications. So for example, over here at Stellenbosch University, they are working on a malaria biosensor, and they have managed to demonstrate this to a limit of detection comparable to industry standards, but this still has development and will hopefully improve those standards and make access easier. If we move into our next flagship, we have our quantum communication flagship, and this is focused on building technologies that can be locally deployed for commercial uptake. Again, we have various universities, CPUT, UKZN, Stellenbosch, and WITS, and they are working on different technologies such as fiber and free space with high dimensional QKD in optical fiber. We also have a lot of work being done on different devices, which will be mentioned as well. I think later today, they're doing work with external cavity diodes, coincidence counters, and classical detectors. And then a lot of work being done on networks and protocols. So a lot of groundbreaking research is being done in this flagship. There was a new world record for quantum teleportation and the first teleportation of images. And in last October, South Africa and China established a record-breaking about 13,000 kilometer ultra-secure quantum satellite link. And this was the world's longest intercontinental ultra-secure quantum link and the first ever quantum satellite communication link established in the Southern Hemisphere. So we're doing a lot of work in the space, and a lot of it has made international news. Lastly, we have our quantum computing flagship. And in this flagship, as a community, we have decided not to focus on building the hardware necessary for quantum computing, but rather to focus on building the software, which will be used on that hardware for real-world applications. In terms of access, the CHPC is providing us access to the quantum computers. And the three main centers that are working on this research are WITS, UKZN, and Stellenbosch. So they are doing various work in quantum machine learning. They're looking at neural networks and brain-inspired quantum computing architectures. Also, a lot of work is being done in optimization for production lines and logistics. And lastly, they're looking at quantum-infused large language models. So all of the above examples were using quantum technologies directly, but we don't always have to use these technologies directly. We can use what we call quantum-inspired solutions, which is when we take the quantum tools and we use it to solve other problems. So in this example, we are using these tools for social impact. So you can see over here in this image, there were scars on these people's faces, but you can't see them clearly in the picture. And the prosecution wanted to understand why you weren't able to see the scars on their faces. So to help solve the problem is not a quantum problem in and of itself, but the tools in the quantum imaging lab were used to help solve the problem, and they were able to play with these funny wavelengths and low light levels to make this possible. So in essence, they used their quantum expertise to help solve the problem. So taking a different step now, we have looked at the science and translating the science into technologies, but now what happens when we have that technology? What do we do with that? So we encourage our nodes to start startup companies and commercialize this technology. And currently we have 4 startups with Button Optics, QLab, QSTEL, and GWP Labs. This is at WITS and Stellenbosch and CPUT. And what they aim to commercialize the technologies that they're working on through these startups. We also have various companies and entities who are working closely with SA QuTI to drive the quantum technology developments. As I said, we are trying to build a quantum ecosystem in South Africa, so that will rely heavily on industry engagement. And I think some of them are going to be presenting over the next 2 days. As you can see over here, we're working quite closely with the banking sector, and we're doing a lot of work to try and help them with implementing quantum technologies into their systems. And there was this year a white paper that was published, which can be found on our website. So if we look more closely at the people who make up SA QuTI, we have our Emerging Leader Program, and the aim of this program is to fund young researchers to strengthen the existing community and also to play a role in succession planning. So in this picture over here, you can see we have our first emerging leader, who is Dr. Isaac Naupe, and he is based at WITS and doing work in quantum optical circuits for information processing. We also have another emerging leader, Dr. Calvin Mpofu, who is establishing a new research direction focusing on quantum biosensing within the biophotonics group at the CSIR. And for anyone who's interested, our definition of an emerging leader is a young academic who has completed a postdoc, is a South African citizen or permanent resident, and most importantly, they have to be working on quantum research and have a good quantum track record, and also employed at an institution with the facilities to support their work. We are looking for new emerging leaders, which is why I just explained a bit about what you would need to be an emerging leader. We're also focusing a lot on human capital development, and we have various bursaries and internship opportunities. Unfortunately, our most recent bursary call has just closed, but if you would like to be informed of future opportunities, you can subscribe to our mailing list through our website, and you can also follow us on our LinkedIn page. And then we also have various internships which usually occur at the beginning of the year. So lastly, I just want to mention, as I said, this is the International Year of Quantum Science and Technology. And as a result of that, we have increased our advocacy events throughout the year. And we have hosted about 65 events this year, including internships, seminars, and workshops. We have tried to increase public awareness and understanding of quantum science, and we've also included outreach events in this, such as high school talks, the district's ESCOM Expo, and we also did an open day at a science center. We also ran an initiative in Science Spaza, which was published as an insert in the Daily Maverick in August. This included researcher highlights, comic strips, and activities to make quantum science accessible to a younger audience. You can see over here, there's a comic strip on quantum cryptography, and there was also another one on quantum computing. The inserts and activities can be downloaded freely from our website under the Resources tab, and these may be distributed to various networks who you think may be interested. So as a summary, how can you get involved in SA QuTI? Well, as I mentioned, we have various bursaries and internships. We also host workshops and seminars throughout the year. A lot of these are hybrid events. So if you are interested, you can join online as well. Then we have our Emerging Leader program, where we're trying to find the young researchers to help build a quantum community. And lastly, we have the quantum computing access through the CHPC. So this was just a high-level overview. More specific research and insights into what we're doing will be provided by our SA QuTI researchers over the next 2 days. And you can follow our LinkedIn page, and here is our website. If you have any questions, you can also email us, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jodie Watson, for giving us a high-level overview over what QuTI is doing. It is extremely impressive, and it seems to be happening very fast. I mean, this is only 3 years, and you've already got so much to show for it, and really building an ecosystem, because it is so diverse and widespread across South Africa. Are there any questions? The Q&A doesn't have any questions at the moment. Any questions from the audience? You can just raise your virtual hand at the bottom. I don't see anything. Let's see. Right, I find that quite interesting that we are working on the software for quantum computing as opposed to building a quantum computer. What is the reason for that?
So I don't know if you saw in the world map, there is a large investment in quantum computing and quantum technologies worldwide. And we felt that with the large investment of companies and governments like China and the USA, they are already ahead in building a quantum computer, and we do not have the resources or capabilities, we feel, to compete with building the hardware compared to where they are. There are also lots of different technologies that are being developed, and we're not too sure which one will be the best in terms of quantum computers. So we rather focus on the software, and then we can implement that into the hardware, which means that we're still contributing to the second revolution, but we don't have to build the hardware itself and have that expertise and high cost in that.
Right, that makes sense. But now, when you develop the software, where do you get the computer to run the software on? On whose
So
computer do we work?
yes, so as I mentioned, we have the access to the quantum computing through the CHPC, and they are currently using IBM. So we run it through IBM's quantum computers at the moment.
Okay, thank you. You said that South Africa and China has made this amazing link over 12,900 kilometers. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? What is the significance of it?
So I would rather defer that question to Francesco, who I think is going to be speaking tomorrow, because he's actually one of the researchers who was involved in that. Him and Yasira Ismail were involved in developing that link, and I think he would be able to answer that question for you.
Okay, thank you. Let me see. A banking sector. The banking sector has a particular interest in this. When will the banking sector start benefiting from it? You know, I mean, I'm very impressed that already you're working with them, so that you're building up that collaborative development, I'm assuming. But when will they actually benefit and be able to roll it out?
That's a very tough question. I can't actually give you an answer for that question. We are trying to encourage them to start thinking about implementing these things. And that's why we started with the white paper, because we've decided to go more with the top-down approach, because we tried the bottom-up approach, and that's a harder thing to get going in the banking sector because they all have different processes. So we started with a top-down approach to try and get those strategies implemented at a high level, so that then they ripple down into the actual banks themselves, because they will need to start thinking about this, especially when quantum computers come to realization as to what we think they will possibly be capable of. They will need to deploy these ultra secure technologies to protect information.
Right. Oh, very interesting. Thank you very much. I think that is it from me. Let me see. There is something in Q&A, but I don't know. Oh, there we go. An anonymous attendee says, what's the difference between AI and quantum computing?
Again, I will defer that to Isaac Napa. If somebody can ask that question to Dr. Isaac Napa, he is also very interested in that. There is a large number of differences between AI and quantum computing, but I'd rather leave that to the researchers to answer.
Okay.
Sorry,
All right.
I do not have I manage the project, but the
Yes.
technical questions the researchers will be able to answer in depth for you.
Very, very responsible of you. I'm going to be irresponsible and just point out that artificial intelligence is the aim, as it were. What computers can do for computers to learn for themselves and to think for themselves. That's my understanding. And quantum computing is the means to that end. I mean, we've got AI at the moment, but the problem is AI needs massive processing capacity. So quantum computing will make that possible, right?